Watching the finals was certainly an experience. The Celtics breezing past the NBA and marching their way to a championship, Jason Tatum trying desperately to cultivate an iconic moment, and worst, or most interesting of all, Kyrie Irving laying a turd on that basketball court game in and game out, which, to be quite frank, is a very, very sharp contrast to what we saw from him earlier in the playoffs. I mean, he was electrifying, quite literally. Game after game, we'd see some sort of offensive explosion through a display of incredible abilities from Kyrie. A breathtaking highlight would pop up on social media and take the world by storm. Now, of course, this isn't anything new for Kyrie. Constantly throughout his career, on a play-by-play basis, he's shown the ability to astonish the NBA audience. He probably has the greatest handles of all time. He might be the most skilled finisher of all time, and every single time the ball touches his hand, magic seems to happen. It's insane watching him play. So insane that when you're watching him, it's hard to imagine him not being up there with the league's best. There's this saying, or take, closer to a joke, a very common one amongst NBA fans. They say, quote, if you watched Lance Stephenson's highlights, you think he's the greatest player of all time. And yeah, I kind of have to agree. Lance's highlights are so deranged, so unhinged, that it sort of justifies the take. But obviously, he's not there, which is why it's a joke. He's not close to that level. He was a journeyman for majority of his career, and at best, a spark plug. I think this saying, joke, or take applies to another guy, Kyrie Irving. Like I said at the top of the video, Kyrie Irving is a wizard with a basketball in his hands, a savant at the ball handling side of things. And unlike Stephenson, he's good, like actually good. 8-time All-Star, 3-time All-League, Rookie of the Year, Championship. He legitimately has a Hall of Fame resume. Now, what am I getting at? Well, since this joke applies to Kyrie like it does to Lance Stephenson, and Kyrie is actually good, it becomes less of a joke and more of an actual take. Now, let me start off by saying this. I'm well aware that no one genuinely thinks that Kyrie Irving is the GOAT. Duh. But I do think that there is an impact on his perception. Let's take a look at this playoff run from the Mavs. A perfect example of this. In Series 1, the Irving hype was at an all-time high. He had dazzling highlights, dropped a 40-piece in Game 4, and led the Mavs to the second round in 6 games. The perfect storm for conversations to swirl. And why wouldn't they? When you see a guy not only perform at the level Kyrie Irving has, but entertain and leave your mouth agape time after time again, you start to think he's Jesus. And it's true for a certain group of people. The conversations he was put in and the discussions at the time that were had about him, not only in that moment, but in general, were pretty shocking to say the least. He was being called the most skilled of all time, considered top 40 of all time, and when you hear that and look at the stats, then the discourse seems kind of disproportionate. Even in his heydays back in Cleveland, he was constantly being compared to Steph Curry, especially after that 2016 championship, even though the stats always favored Curry. And if I haven't made it clear, the reason why is skill. Let me give you a thinking exercise. If Kyrie Irving continued to play at that high level and won himself a chip, can you imagine how insufferable the discourse around him would be? I already made a video on how playoff ball affects discourse around the NBA. Check that out. But can you fathom the freight train of hype that would have come if Kyrie earned himself a ring? I will tell you first, right here, he wouldn't deserve it. He was great, but again, being pushed into legacy convos that were so out of his league. The rest of the NBA fan base didn't see it because the glory from how infatuating his playstyle is sort of clouded their judgment. To put it in modern terms, his aura clouded their sense. Kyrie's playstyle, his flashy flair, adds to his aura factor, which affects almost every category in his perception. The most obvious is the way he's rated or spoken about. I mentioned the discourse around him this playoff run, and closer to it, I mentioned how batshit insane it is. I also mentioned that comparative to the way he was spoken of, this run is not that insane. We had legacy-changing discussions about Kyrie prior to the finals. And what was that off of? Sub 23 points a game? Not really worth it. The second thing that is shifted when the playstyle judgment clouding is in effect is the lows. In Kyrie's past, there have been a lot of moments where he's fallen flat on his face in the playoffs, especially post LeBron. In 2018 to 2019, he had his worst postseason outing, averaging barely 20 and under 39% for the series. In 2021, he got swept, averaging 21 on subpar efficiency. And this year, Kyrie had a horrible finals performance, consisting of under 20 points with 41% from the field. I'm not trying to slander him or anything, I would never do that, but I see this weird notion floating around that Kyrie is an elite playoff riser. And of course, while he is by no means a playoff dropper, post LeBron, he has had multiple instances where his play has dropped off a cliff, and like others, it's gonna be swept under the rug, like a lot of his shortcomings do, even the ones that are more evident and obvious. His tendencies to leave a stain on the places he goes, to destroy teams with his antics. People look at that and just give him a pass by calling him misunderstood. Even the biggest stain on his career, Kyrie's relegation to being the second option, hasn't been spoken about, even though that is a clear and obvious theme throughout his career. Similar to his lack of statistical dominance, it seems to have no real bearing on how he's spoken about. Alright. So far this may seem like a Kyrie Irving hit piece, but I promise, it's not. I want to talk about another guy that's in a similar boat in terms of fan discourse. That guy is Kobe Bryant. Kobe is widely regarded as up there and one of the most skilled players of all time. Everything about him reeks of the aforementioned aura that I was talking about with Kyrie. His mentality, his scoring ability, the way he carried himself, all seemed like it was manufactured specifically for entertainment. He was a cold-blooded killer. He would never pass the ball, wouldn't even think about it. He was an insane shit talker and would do anything to bury you in the ground, to get in your head. Look at it on paper. We have a guy with an uncanny scoring ability who would shoot the ball no matter what and would talk an ungodly amount of shit to the opposition. That's literally an NBA fan's wet dream in terms of entertainment. And guess what? Kobe is a tier above Kyrie in that factor. I spent a good chunk of this video speaking on how Kyrie's prolific hooping ability is a direct path to him being overrated. So imagine how insufferable the discourse around Kobe Bryant, an objective top 12 player of all time, is. I'm gonna mention the Lance Stephenson's highlight thing one more time, except when you apply it to Kobe Bryant, it fits like a glove. There is this group of people, a certain cult following, that believe with their entire chest that Kobe Bryant is the greatest basketball player of all time. And much like Lance Stephenson, he does not belong close to those discussions. Again, this isn't me trying to hate on Kobe or put a hit piece out on him, but much like Kyrie, he has multiple shortcomings and instances that deconstruct the narrative they have built around him. His ring count gets brought up a lot when for 3 of them, he was playing second fiddle to Shaq. After Shaq left, there wasn't a lot the Lakers had to offer. And after constant losses, Kobe got fed up and threatened to force his way out on multiple occasions, which goes directly against the narrative that Kobe was the pinnacle of loyalty or whatever. Lastly, Kobe is a historically bad Game 7 player. Like, really bad. 22 points per game on under 40% shooting. That's a direct dip in quality of play compared to regular season or even playoff stats. These directly oppose what a lot of Kobe truthers like to display as reasoning for his GOAT status in their eyes. His clutch factor narrative sort of crumbles with his Game 7 meltdowns. The loyalty shit they like to rub in bronze sexuals' faces is tarnished solely because of his attempts at leaving, and the ring count they like to flex is staying because of the help from Shaq. When presented with these instances, it's almost like they can't believe it. Like they're shocked that Kobe has a flaw in his game. That's how entertaining he was. When watching Kobe, he was absolutely perfect for entertainment. Again, incredible scorer, crazy work ethic, and an unbelievably cold and calculated player. His antics on and off the court built this persona that many fans, especially on recollection, created a narrative with. Using their eyes and watching him provided him the benefit of the doubt, similar to Kyrie, which internally makes them erase all the somewhat iffy moments because, oh man, look, he just hit a crazy fadeaway jumper or whatever. And that's how they get into the habit of ignoring stats. With the 3 dudes I mentioned, actually ignore Lance Stephenson, he's mainly a joke. With the 2 guys I mentioned, Kyrie and Kobe, they are statistically inferior comparative to where and how much they're spoken about. Kobe gets put in the GOAT debate routinely, even though he's by every single metric not as good as either LeBron or MJ. And that's because stats, for the most part, ignore one thing: entertainment. When these people watch Kobe and Kyrie, they get an experience you can't get from just looking at the stats on Basketball Reference. A wide open layup from Rudy Gobert and a cockback poster from Ja Morant are both worth 2 points. And when you have Kyrie revealing his superhuman ball handling ability every time he touches the ball, it's so easy to let let your mind go blank and just watch. Don't think about the stats, his true shooting, his plus minus, all of the analytics, boring stuff, randomness, whatever. Just watch. Enjoy what's in front of you. It's an entertainment league after all. That's the mindset they operate under. Not entertainment value, no, but the ability to display skill, break down an opponent, do something that no one else can do with the ball in their hands, and to entertain while doing it. It's no coincidence that hoopers think that Kobe's a GOAT. I touched upon this in my player psyche video, but they don't care about statistics. They don't care about points per game or any of that shit. They watch and see your skill and determine how good you are based off of that solely. But are they right? Seriously, could they be right? Do we as a society overrate production when we rank players and not look enough at the skill implemented there? No, I don't think so. I know I've been saying this entire video that these guys solely look at skill, but there's one major flaw with the eye test that reveals how that's not really the case. What I've been describing this entire video is a form of pretty privilege. Basketball pretty privilege. I've been saying that they care about the skill, but that's not actually true. There are players that are just as skilled as Kyrie and Kobe. Players like LeBron and Tim Duncan. The difference between these two players is that one set of them is entertaining and the other is not. LeBron's ridiculous IQ causes him to possess so many insane skills, but the thing is, it isn't entertaining. When you see Kyrie Irving hit a tween hezzy sidestep 3, that is noticeable and catches your attention. But guys like LeBron and Tim Duncan does so many other things that are under the radar that have just as much of an impact. LeBron pushing the pace and creating a fast break, or him being one of the best cutters in the league, or timing his screens perfectly. All of those are incredible skills that have great impact on the team, but they're not entertaining. The biggest flaw with the eye test isn't how they overvalue skills or anything. It's how majority of the times when people look at the eye test, they mainly go off entertainment, and that's dangerous. The reason why a lot of these guys like Kobe or Kyrie's shortcomings are swept under the rug is because they don't fit the narrative that is created by their play. No way Kobe would crumble under the pressure and be a horrible Game 7 performer. Look at how much of a cold-blooded killer he is. The reason stats are so great and useful is because they fall under a statement as old as time. Numbers don't lie. It's super easy to overrate star players with skill when not looking at the numbers, since human perception is so incredibly flawed, especially because it's so entertainment hungry. The eye test isn't inherently wrong. The problem is people have stupid eyes. The eye test creates bias. Why? Because humans are stupid. Internally, narratives and opinions about the players are already swirling, and as you consume more content about the player, your brain already filters out everything that doesn't fit it. No one's gonna remember Kyrie shitting the bed this year. No one remembers Kobe being a Game 7 dropper, specifically because of how incredible they are to watch, which instantly gives them the benefit of the doubt and more leeway in terms of basketball. Like I said before, it's like pretty privilege, but for the NBA. People's eyes are stupid because naturally, majority of people's eyes only looks at the entertainment side of things, and so many other skills go under the radar. Anyway, what do you guys think? How many more players does this phenomenon apply to? Will we ever see this again? And which players of the next generation of stars will benefit from this? Thanks for watching as always. I love you. Peace.